All right, welcome back. Part 2 of the post E3 State of Gaming podcast. And we're going to talk about Microsoft, or the Scorpio Conference, or the Xbox One X, or Xbox, because that's how it spells itself out. Whatever you want to call it, we're going to talk about it.
Right, so, as we predicted, obviously they had to talk about the Scorpio, now known as the Xbox One X. I was really happy to see that although it took center stage for the first part of the show, they started to show games right after.
Yeah.
But let's start talking about the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
So, it definitely is more powerful than any other console out right now, which is, that's good and all, but the one thing that really concerns me about, like we've been talking about before, about this whole, 1.5 version of consoles is that the games still have to run on the original Xbox One.
Yeah.
So the games can't really venture too far ahead. The only thing is that they really want to push 4K, and although that's great and all, like there also needs to be the push for people to get 4K TVs, and there's a whole transition that we're going through right now. And although the Xbox One X is really powerful, I didn't see a ton of games that really took advantage of it at the conference.
It's like you said, as long as they have to still make the games work on the original Xbox One hardware, it can only go so far. Because eventually you're going to get to a point where making a game that can run on the original console and take full advantage of the full console is just too much work, like that's a large spectrum. Like a lot of times you look at games, the lowest and high settings, there isn't a huge difference, like if you look at PC games, without modding it. So we're not going to see a huge difference until they, and I think inevitably, make the decision to cut off pre-Xbox One X support, which probably won't happen for a few years, but it will happen.
I'm actually, I'm starting to think, based off of what Sony said recently, they said that they're definitely going to make a PlayStation 5, and they're not doing the whole smartphone business strategy of making like all these incremental improvements. So I think that, I don't know if necessarily Microsoft will follow suit there, but if they do, then they might just do this every generation. So, and that also brings the question up, like when the next Xbox comes out, let's say the Xbox 2 or whatever they call it, do you buy that at launch, or now do we wait for the better version?
Yeah.
So it's like waiting. It's like when the iPhone 7 comes out. Do you get the 7? Do you get the 7S? Do you wait? Like, how do you wait now? Because buying it at launch now means that you're getting sort of a dumbed down version of what you know is going to come out in 2 more years, and the library will also be better. So now it seems like it's a bad idea to buy consoles at launch.
Well, the only way that they would get people, or a lot of people, to buy it at launch is if the launch title selection is really good.
Right.
Because that was, Xbox's lineup is still weak, but it was really even weaker at the launch of the original Xbox One. And even PS4's lineup, both this generation had a relatively weak start with titles, because it was mainly padded in with remasters of last generation titles, right? It's only now that we're starting to see, like, at least on the PlayStation side, a larger library of games worth getting it for. And Xbox is, as we'll talk about, showed a lot of games and is trying to get themselves back in the game there. But yeah, if the next generation doesn't have a strong lineup at launch, then yeah, there's no reason to buy it right away. Unless there's that one killer game that you as a personal fan need to play right away and can only, like Halo 6 or whatever, or Halo 7 at that point, or whatever. That's the only reason anyone should get a console going forward at launch.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're going to get new stuff every few years. I think no matter what, whether it's a generation split or just a half mid-generation upgrade, it's going to happen. There's going to be a new PlayStation, probably, if I had to guess, in a few years, if for no other reason than to compete with the power that Scorpio's going to deliver. And then if they get into like a back and forth, like fighting with each other over the more powerful console, and it kind of snowballs from there.
I guess we're gonna have to wait and see for that, though.
Yeah, there's no guarantee on that, but you see it, like, again with the smartphone analogy. You see Apple and Samsung going back and forth, like trying to one up each other, and unless PlayStation is just fully banking on its games, which is a fine strategy because they definitely have the advantage there. But if not, we'll see a new PlayStation sooner rather than later, and then who knows what comes after that.
Yep. Well, regardless of what happens, I really do want to see what the result is, because this is the future of console gaming. Whatever decision Sony and Microsoft decide to take, that's the way it'll probably be from then on, because I mean, it's pretty much just between Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Nintendo doesn't really follow the same rules.
No.
So Sony and Microsoft really have the ball in their court. They're the ones deciding the future of console gaming.
Yeah.
Although I mean, I've heard that Atari is getting back in the game for whatever reason, so
Yeah.
I guess we'll see how that plays into it. But another thing that's interesting to note about this Xbox One X is that it's $500, which was the same price as the Xbox One at launch. So they're just going like I said, like if you just waited, you're putting down the same money for like a console that's, I don't know, at least I don't know if I could say it twice as strong, but it's
definitely stronger.
Significantly
For
stronger.
the same price you paid 3-4 years ago for, a weaker system. Like it's great to see. Like I'm sure Xbox fans are happy to see. Oh, look how new powerful console. But at the same time, if I was someone who bought the Xbox One originally at launch, I'd be like, so I spent $500 4 years ago, and now I could have spent the same amount of money on a better system if I just waited. And especially with the games on it, I'm like, why didn't I wait? If I had bought one, that's probably what I'd be thinking right now.
Right. I'm kind of with you on that. I mean, I didn't get it at launch. I got it pretty recently afterwards. I got it, I guess, a year or so. And although I think I'm in maybe a bit of a different boat just because I didn't have a 360, so I basically bought a one so I could play the library of the 360 games. And now I won't have to stop there because I didn't have a Classic either, an Xbox Classic, and now they made that backwards compatible.
Yeah.
So I could basically keep my Xbox One as a sort of Xbox unit for the entire history and game library of the history of Microsoft games.
Yeah. Well, again, that announcement again goes into something else I've been thinking a while, is that they're just trying to turn the Xbox experience into the PC experience, and eventually we'll see it all kind of merge together. Because again, that's the thing PC games has always had, with a few exceptions. You can play almost any game. Some like pre-Windows games maybe not, but games from the original Xbox generation, no problem. And now console, at least on the Xbox side, are trying to do the same thing, and both being able to play on both your PC and your Xbox. Like, it's very clear that you're trying to bridge the gap. Yeah, whereas absolutely. PlayStation and Sony are still like in the old school way of doing consoles, of it's being its own thing and not cooperating, if you could say, with PC or other consoles. Because I don't know, I'm sure you saw that Sony kind of turned down an offer for cross-platform play for some games. They were talking about that a bit during E3, because Sony's still in the old way of exclusives, great games, that's all we need, which is great for people who have a PlayStation, and it's why I bought one, but it's it still creates divides between player bases.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into the games then while we're here.
Mm-hmm.
So first up was Forza Motorsport 7, which is, I guess, the real showcase for 4K on the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looked great. For me, it's not really, like, that's not a console seller.
No.
It's just another, I mean, it felt like more of a necessity than a surprise. Like, we knew that if there was going to be a new Xbox One to show off graphics, Forza would be a really smart game. Or racing games in general are very good visual showcases of graphical capabilities. So, you know what? I mean, it's good. I think it makes sense. It's not necessarily the best thing to show, like, in general, in terms of excitement, but
it's kind of like sports with EA. It's just something that you're going to see, and some people will be excited. Most will be like, okay, whatever. Let's get to the more exciting stuff.
Yeah, like Minecraft 4K, which I don't know what they were thinking. Like, I get it that they have Microsoft as an IP. They have Minecraft as an IP, but like, of all the games to show off 4K for, like, that's an instant meme right there. They had to know what they were doing. Come on, like,
or maybe that's why they did it, because they knew people would talk about it. Like to say, whether it's good or bad, as long as people are talking about it, right? To an extent, obviously.
I saw that and I was like, why? Of all the things that you want to show 4K for, it's a game that its unique selling point is partially its kind of lower res graphic style, and making the lighting better. Sure.
Yeah, but that's something the PC, like, you can get shader mods for Minecraft for years now. Like, the footage they were showing, that, like, that's how my Minecraft at home art has been looking at, like, for years, which is, it's cool for those who don't play it on PC already, and it does look nice, and I don't mind it, because I'm not like a purist who needs to look like it did when it came out. and all that. But again, it's not the game that, even with the shaders and the 4K, it's still not going to look as good as other AAA games like.
I just don't think that's the point. It's not the point of Minecraft. Like the thing is, like you could make it look nice, sure, but it's like Minecraft's not about the visuals. Nice, the visuals are so backstage to the actual gameplay. I don't know. I mean, I think it would have been okay to include that in their conference, but I just don't think it should have been in their main showcase of 4K graphics. Yeah. It just was a strange.
Well, the thing is, Minecraft is really popular,
of course. Yeah.
And unlike EA with sports, there's a lot of people who play Minecraft who probably also watch E3, right? So it makes sense. I mean, every year for the last few years, they've had big, like, remember things last year where they had the HoloLens Minecraft demo, So Minecraft's a big seller. There's a lot of money in Minecraft, so I can understand why they promoted it. Because there's definitely plenty of people who will be like, oh, it still looks better, and that makes me happy. I don't care if it's not the best showcase of 4K, but it looks good, and it'll help keep selling a top-selling IP for them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so next up, I'm just gonna pick games at random here, but I guess we should talk about Anthem, because Anthem is like a big game for EA. This is like BioWare's big ace in the hole. They called it Project Dylan after Bob Dylan, saying it's going to be as monumental as he was. And I think we're both in the same boat here. I have mixed feelings. On one hand, it does look really cool, like visually, and I think that being like a little Iron Man suit flying around in open world is like a really sweet idea.
Yeah, for the first few hours.
Well, the combat also I find looked cool. The issue is that if you showed someone like a combat montage from Destiny, like vanilla, maybe that would look cool too. But when people got their hands on the original Destiny, they started to realize there was a lot of problems with that game. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of problems that come with making a game that's co-op focused. Like it's online focused, and writing and story take a back seat. But I'm not sure. I don't want to see Anthem fall into that same problem. I mean, the first thing we saw was that dialogue, so that gives me hope that there would be a story and there's interactions with people, unlike Destiny where there's sort of just a person sitting there and they give you quests. So, I mean, we don't know for sure. We only have one trailer to look at here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep my eye on it. I'm definitely... If it's what I want it to be, I would be incredibly excited. And what I want it to be is like a sort of a classic BioWare style game with maybe a bit heavier on the action, which is what they're kind of doing lately. And just have the sort of the option for drop-in co-op, like the way that they showed people just joining in. If they had that, I would be in. However, if it's more of a Destiny vanilla style, story doesn't really even exist, and you have just sort of quest after quest with partners, then they may have lost me.
Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it's going to be the latter, because they've even come out and said, this is our response to Destiny. This is meant to be a top competitor for Destiny 2. And yeah, sure, maybe there will be a story there, but it's clearly not their focus, because they didn't do anything story related during the demo. It was all, you had the one guy with the generic, I sent some people on a mission, they got missing, can you go find them quest? To be honest, okay, whatever, that's a basic quest. And then it was just all exploration, combat. Like I said, looked great, the graphics looked great, but let's see if they look like that at launch.
True.
The weather effects looked great, the monsters looked great, the suits are cool, customizable, all that. But that's what it's going to be. And if you're into that, if you're into those types of games, this will probably be a really good game. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad game, but it's not going to be a BioWare game, because BioWare as we knew them doesn't exist anymore. And to me, the announcement of a game like this from their top studio, this is the core of BioWare doing this. This isn't some side project. Mass Effect Andromeda was a side project. This is what they want to focus on now. And that, to me, tells me everything I need to know. The BioWare of old, the BioWare that made Knights of the Republic, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, they don't exist anymore.
I guess they've definitely changed. This is a different direction that we're not used to seeing from them.
They might as well change their name. This isn't the same company, not just because of the people there, but because of the games they're making. It's just, the only reason they won't change the name is because people are going to buy games made by BioWare, because they're going to hold on to that hope that it's going to be another classic which is which is what everyone was hoping for with Andromeda. Didn't turn out that way, and this game is not even gonna have a chance because it's not even that type of game anymore.
I guess so. Well, I mean, they definitely are changing their direction, and we're seeing that with the games that they're putting out. Maybe this is just going to be a rebranding of BioWare. Maybe this is just going to be the BioWare of the future. Maybe the BioWare we used to know we'll see that in a new company altogether. Maybe it won't be even in EA. It could be in maybe CD Projekt Red will be the BioWare.
I mean, right now, as far as just RPGs in general, they are the top of the food chain for that style of game right now. I mean,
hopefully they keep that up.
Yeah,
because we did not see.
Unfortunately,
we did not see any. Cyberpunk 2077.
I'm not too surprised, but hopefully next year will be the year we get to see some more of it.
Reveal, yeah. And we also saw Assassin's Creed Origins, which was at Ubisoft as well. So I think the setting looked incredible.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously it was running on the Xbox One X, so they're really showcasing the graphics. So setting looked incredible. I really like the whole ancient Egypt look. They took away the mini-map. I'm indifferent about that. I don't think that really matters too much. I don't know. There's something that didn't feel totally right. Maybe it was in the combat, the way they approached it.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I think, good. The way it's sort of like one-on-one. It's a little more serious. It looked almost a bit Dark Souls-y. But
yeah.
I don't know. Something felt a little janky. Maybe it was the animations. I'm hoping they can maybe patch that out a little bit before the game comes out. Because it has my attention. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that as a historian, you definitely have interest in games set in ancient Egypt.
The setting is definitely, for now, the main selling point. The combat, it could be good. But speaking of rebranding, I feel like this is also taking Assassin's Creed a new direction. Yeah. Partly because they've released so many games, and the last few have. I mean, Syndicate was okay, but like Unity and such were a mess, and like they want to freshen up because also I noticed there seems like there's gonna be a stronger emphasis on loot because he was looting in previous games you just loot like money and small materials from guards you slay. Now he's getting their bows and everything, and so it will be a more loot heavy experience, which there's no problem with that.
No,
Loot's always fun as long as it's balanced and everything. And another thing that kind of concerned me was there was one point not in the gameplay but in the actual trailer where it looked like there was some monster that he was fighting. You know what I'm talking about? Like there was some snake lizard thing,
the basilisk or whatever,
which is obviously not historically accurate. So I'm also a little concerned that they're going to take it more into a fantasy realm.
Or maybe it'll be a drug trip. Who knows?
Maybe, yeah. There's always potential explanations, and I'm not against them taking it into the more fantasy realm necessarily because, I mean, if they do it well and it's still an enjoyable game, it's an enjoyable game. But one of the things about the Assassin's Creed games has always been their emphasis on historical accuracy.
Yeah.
And if they're abandoning that, and it still doesn't mean it's not going to mean it's going to be a bad game, but it'll lose something that has made it a unique aspect of the last generation of gaming.
All right, that's a fair complaint. We also saw them say that PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds will be showing up on the One X as well.
The latest phenomenon.
Man, is it ever! I feel like that showed up overnight. Honestly,
yeah, it did. Yeah, it really did. Like
that's been on top of the Steam list forever.
Yeah, and Twitch too. Just super popular.
I'm gonna skip over some of the smaller indie titles.
Yeah, we don't really have to go into depth on all those. I mean,
some of them looked interesting, but there's only a couple I think that really got my attention.
Yeah, like again, it's great to see that they're experimenting more with games because we all know how much Xbox needs games. But again, none of them were like that. Like, wow, I need to play that as of right now. You know, there's no big Xbox exclusive announced in general. Like, there's plenty of games that'll come to the Xbox that are good, but nothing that's just coming to Xbox, you know, because you have like Assassin's Creed, which was great, they showed off Anthem, and also we could talk about Shadow of War.
Oh yeah,
which also looks good, but again, not. They're hyping it up as like a Xbox One X launch title kind of thing. Like it was the first game, okay, full 4K support, all that. But again, it's not an exclusive. It's going to come everywhere else too. Everyone's going to get to play it. So yeah, okay, maybe it'll run the nicest console wise on the Xbox, but you know, it's not a system seller because you can just get that on PC or PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it did look pretty good. I don't even think it didn't feel like they introduced a ton of new mechanics. I did like that, like, the villains they were showing looked a little different than the ones we were used to fighting in Shadow of Mordor, like the big troll guy who he turns onto his side. Some comedy relief, which was a bit weird, but you know what? I'm down.
Yeah.
Sure, why
Works
not?
with personality.
Yeah, that's what I like. And they even had that one that was chasing him near the end. There was like this is like a cyborg guy who wants revenge, and I'm like expecting this to be like a recurring like menace, but then the guy playing just like totally like tears him apart, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that was it then. All right. So I don't know. I guess I still need to see a bit more of Shadow of War to see why it's so different from Shadow of Mordor.
Well, maybe it won't be. I mean, Shadow of Mordor was a big success, and again, like we said before, if you have something good, more of the same isn't necessarily bad.
But for making an entirely new game, I feel like there needs to be a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but at least give me a few huge things to deal with here.
I'm sure there'll be some new mechanics and refinement on the others.
That'd be good.
More depth for like its nemesis systems and stuff, which was kind of like its big, surprisingly cool aspect of the first game. I mean, they'd have to do more to screw it up than to, make it good, because they're coming off such a strong showing with the first game. So if it's worst criticism that it is just kind of the same game with better graphics and more in-depth but similar mechanics, and for people who really enjoyed the first game, that's not that big a deal,
No. I also want to bring up a couple of my personal favorite indie games, just so like we can get through that entire part. But I think The Last Night visually was a really intriguing game. It's sort of like pixel art but 3D at the same time. It was bright colors. I don't really know too much about what was going on in the story, but it has my attention, even if I'll probably get it on PC. And then there was Cuphead, which for me is like, I was hoping that would show up, and it did, and they gave a release date in September. And
that was a nice surprise, because we hadn't heard from that in a while.
Yeah, and getting a date for it was honestly all I could have asked for. That's all I really needed, and the trailer wasn't too long anyways. It didn't need to be long. They just needed to say it's coming out just a few months.
Yeah. And
for me, I'm pretty happy with that. Another one of Xbox's big players showed up, obviously, as Sea of Thieves, where they showed up. I felt like that the video they showed maybe overstayed its welcome a little bit. Like, it went on for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like, getting the treasure. I mean, I guess we saw a lot of different facets of the game, when you try and take the treasure, then you may get attacked by, like, the skeletons, and I mean, that's a game I think that you need to have your friends playing with you, because it would be a bit plain, I think, without it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like your friends are really what makes that experience in Sea of Thieves. And while personally it's not my cup of tea, I'm really more of a lone wolf gamer. I think that whole experience would be really appealing to a lot of people.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's definitely got the potential to be a big seller for the Xbox and PC as well. But I agree with you. Like, yeah, it looks great. I'm sure if I end up playing it, I'll enjoy aspects of it. But it's not something I'm gonna stick with for a long time. It's something that could potentially get stale pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk about this more when we talk about Ubisoft's conference. But now they have a response to that.
Yeah,
like they have their own
the gritty adult version of Sea of Thieves.
Oh boy. So, all right. We also have State of Decay 2, which I mean, it looks like that's another example of more of the same. State of Decay 2 is basically just State of Decay 1 with maybe a bit more polish, and it's bigger, it's co-op. I mean, that's a game that I really think they didn't need to do too much to. It was already, like, the formula worked pretty well in terms of a survival game, and having a friend there really adds to it. If you see a friend getting killed, like, you feel like you need to defend your friend. Or they showcase, like, is it always worth it to save your friend? Or, like, if you have a cure, do you use it up on this person? Is it worth it? And there's sort of high stakes and sort of unpredictable scenarios, which I think is what a really good strength of State of Decay is kind of surprising situations that are unique to your playthrough. And although I never really played too much State of Decay, I really like the idea of it, and I think that this is a step in the right direction for the series.
Mm-hmm.
And now I get to talk about some Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z. Like, they could have put a space between it, so I kind of know how to pronounce that. But,
yeah.
All right, so Dragon Ball Fighters, I'll call it. Um, this is made by Axis Games, the people who made Guilty Gear and Blaze Blue, which were really stylish, really colorful fighters, and they really played on the anime aspect. And now to see that combined with Dragon Ball, like, looks really sweet. I'm wondering how they're gonna put in, some of the different features like going Super Saiyan. I saw that you could upgrade your character mid battle, but I don't know to what extent are you able to start from non Super Saiyan and go all the way up to Super Saiyan 3, because these things are really, you have to be really careful when doing that because balance is an issue. I'm wondering if they include a lot of Super. Will they have any GT, or is this just exclusive Z with some Z movie characters? Either way, no matter what they do, they're a really talented development team, and I'm expecting this to be like, there's very little doubt in my mind that this won't be a great game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hoping that it could live up to the other franchises that Axis has made. Are you a big Dragon Ball fan? Is this a big
I
deal
was. I mean, I watched plenty of it when I was younger, but I've never been that big into fighting games either. But I mean, it's always great to. I still like Dragon Ball, and I definitely would play it. Certainly not something I'd buy on release, but something definitely with a friend I would definitely play.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like same here. Like I don't know if this will be a launch buy for me, but it's the kind of game that I know that me and my friends used to play a lot of, like Budokai Tenkaichi or just Budokai, and I'd love to have a few friends over and just battle with them, sort of in the same vein as Mortal Kombat or Injustice.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see. We know Black Desert's coming.
Yeah,
that's just more of a port because it's already been out on PC for a while, and honestly,
I think that's the most of it. I think
aside from some of the indie games they showed off. Oh wait, we're missing.
Oh right.
Of course, how could we forget? Okay, so we have Crackdown 3 that finally showed up. The problem I have with it though is that I feel like they really didn't show something that was really surprising, aside from maybe Terry Crews being in the trailer, which was like, that was a bit surprising. But gameplay wise, I mean, it didn't stand out too much. Maybe I'm just a bit saturated from playing Just Cause 3 a lot with a lot of destruction and explosions, but it didn't really speak to me. We saw a lot of running around the city and a lot of explosions, a lot of shooting, but it's coming out not too long, and I kind of feel like we're missing something here. They haven't communicated something kind of important, and I don't know quite what it is.
It doesn't look finished,
maybe that's it.
It doesn't look like it's made much progress since its announcement, and maybe there's still another big announcement about it coming before launch, but otherwise, then it looks like Microsoft may have another disappointing. I mean, hey, if it doesn't get canceled, it's better than many of their other exclusives potential. But I mean, they really need a win, and right now, I mean, it doesn't look like it necessarily will be bad, but it's certainly not looking like a system seller.
Maybe not, but I still have hope for it. I really don't want that game to fail because I have interest in Crackdown. I haven't played any of the other ones, so I feel like I kind of want to jump on board with it. And yeah, honestly, there's not really. Oh. Again, I almost forgot another really big one, but there's the sequel to Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I need to look up this title because
Will of the Wisps.
Will of the Wisps, right? So the first Ori was really beautiful side-scrolling game with a lot of personality, and it was sort of a Metroidvania style. And I don't really think they need to do. This is another game where I really don't think they need to do a whole lot. It just needs to maybe have some more unique settings, some more abilities. And obviously a different map.
Yeah, just expand on what.
Yeah, it was a great, beautiful game. So having the sequel just to be more of that is not really a big issue, and that was something that I think Microsoft really had. Ori is like a really good IP, but I mean everything's also on PC, so it's not like this is an Xbox exclusive or anything. But I just think that's a really good property that Microsoft has a hold of, and honestly, that pretty much covers the really important bits of Microsoft's conference. There's not really much else that they didn't. They didn't pull any surprise sucker punches on this year. Not
game wise. The only surprise I guess you could say was original Xbox compatibility. That was kind of the big all right, that's pretty cool, but again, it's a minor thing overall. It's more about what games are you going to be giving us that are new, not we can play older games again.
Honestly, it's not even that's a really good thing. The problem I have, I mean, I didn't own an Xbox Classic, but I'm not aware of many Xbox games, classic games that were really, really good. So yeah, I mean that's basically all we really needed to know from Microsoft. I mean, I would have liked to see maybe a new exclusive of some sort, but there was nothing really too surprising.
It was overall, I'd say it was a good showing for them.
Yeah,
Definitely better than more games than I expected.
like just games, like back to back.
And they did what they had to do for the Xbox One X. The price is decent. The specs are good. I mean, it was a good E3 for Microsoft. Not great, but good. So yeah. So that's it for that. And next we'll talk about Ubisoft.
For sure.
Yeah.